So what makes these competitors risk life and limb in the pursuit of glory? This is my quest to understand more about a breed of sportsmen I have a deep respect for. Some of the most complex and daring athletes of all, downhill racers.
Fact one, this is a dangerous sport. You're racing down the mountain at 90 miles an hour.
It feels like you're flying a jet fighter.
Speed is what gets them off or turns them on.
Pushing the limits. How far can you go?
You always try to go faster than your brain wants to go.
If you do a mistake, it could have big consequences.
I broke twice legs, the upper legs and the lower tibia and fibia.
My head hit the ground and it was finished.
I tipped around and landed on my neck. My ski fell off and cut me really deep.
If you have fear when you're on the run, then you're in big, big trouble.
You get that one shot to go out there and go for it.
If you're starting to crash, there's not much you can do.
I've come to the Alps to meet the best downhill racers in the world.
We're talking about skiing.
About skiing, okay.
I'm here to try and understand a competitive world that is so different to my own.
Just trying to get inside the mind of the skiers, see how they do it. It's cool out, very cool.
I can relate to the rush of adrenaline from competition, what it's like to perform on an Olympic stage, and to carry the hopes of a nation. For me, this was the attraction to my sport. Downhill racing has all these factors, but there's one simple difference to track and field. I was never putting my life at risk. So what is the lure of downhill?
For me, when I was a kid, it was a mystic race, mystic events. I was dreaming about Zurbriggen, Müller, Klammer. It was named for me, it was a hero like Superman, and I was not dreaming to be a fireman or policeman. I wanted to be a downhiller.
When I was a child, I liked to make jumps. I think when I was so high, I had the feeling when I jumped 5 meters, I had a huge jump, like 20 meters. But I almost liked that feeling.
As soon as I started to go fast, I realized that was what I wanted to do.
Well, we're going to see how he goes first. I'm not going to take him straight on the first. That's why I asked for them.
I don't know if I can live up to it. We'll see.
This is the first time I've met any downhill racers. They all seem like normal characters on the surface, but in truth, they are a breed apart.
You know, everyone's got a screw loose or something like that, and that they're quite wild, they're out there. A downhill racer, there's a certain thing that takes a downhill racer to make a downhill racer. You've got to be willing to put yourself in these situations.
The true downhillers they have a little bit of craziness. I mean, they like to scare themselves. These guys, it doesn't matter if it's on skis or in a car or on a rodel or, a tray. They like to scare themselves, and they like to go fast.
They like the extreme thrill and the extreme adrenaline flow, not only because of their personality, but very much because of the way that they need a stronger or a higher level of arousal.
Generally, skiers tend to be larger-than-life characters who drive too fast, who drink occasionally too much, who womanize and go out in bars and stuff. That is your character of a ski racer.
I could have done that.
Perhaps that behavior is a form of release. Getting up close and personal to a downhill course has made me appreciate the focus this sport requires.
Good Lord. It's pretty steep. A lot more than I thought it would be. When you're skiing, you're used to being able to stop. I don't think I'd be able to stop. I mean, once you're going down, you're going down.
You need something special to conquer a mountain like this.
As a normal and even well-trained skier with good skills, you are never able to do what these guys are doing. You could not even slide down one of these race courses because they are specially prepared for their capabilities.
Franz Klammer of Austria. Will the gamble pay off?
It's brutal. You go in the starting gate, it's just diving down in nothing.
To me, the dangers of this sport are obvious, but to the racers, crashes appear to be a part of the job, something they have come to accept.
I never really had bad crash, but I broke twice legs, the upper legs and the lower tibia and fibia. And there was one on a jump. I went too far with my body weight in the back, and I catch the air. I landed on my back, and by landing the upper legs went broken.
I jumped 50 meters off the track with 100K. So I was kind of semi-paralyzed. I couldn't talk for 2 days and so on. But everything came back. I wasn't seriously hurt.
The great Hermann Maier.
I remember exactly. It was so fast there, but it was a big mistake for sure. I lost the outside ski, and it was like a jump. I got up into the air, and then I thought maybe it's possible to ski again. But maybe I'm losing a little bit of time, but it's not a big problem. But I was then too fast. The feet, they're going up further, and I saw the snow, and I tried only to prepare for the crash. And I was very, very lucky. There was a little bit softer snow. That was very important for me. First day it was not possible for me to walk again. I had a swollen knee, and it was very hard. And I was thankful there was no race the next day.
But there was a race 3 days later.
Missed out on a medal in the downhill, but Hermann Maier surely skiing to gold in the Super G, and he takes it from his teammate Hans Knaus by 0.61. He doesn't just win, he wins by huge distances.
Maier showed incredible physical and mental strength to even enter the race. But what he achieved that day is one of sport's great comebacks. There is no set pattern to dealing with adversity in this sport. Unlike Hermann Maier, Scott McCartney does not talk about his crash. Instead, he focuses on the recovery, the positive. I can relate to McCartney's need to block Kitzbühel 2008 from his memory. I would want to forget this too.
Scott McCartney of the United States of America stands at the top of the greatest downhill challenge of them all. And away he goes, pushing out onto the Mauserfeller section.
It was a surreal experience. I was actually above the finish area, and Scott was coming down. He was having really good splits. He nailed the side hill of Kitzbühel, so that when you nail that turn, you're going to come down the chute with a lot of speed.
Already clocking 100 kilometers per hour plus. Onto the top of the Hausberg, over the jump, and from here it's just flat out to the finish.
It was his birthday. 70,000 people on the finish singing happy birthday to you.
Now he can see the finishing line, and he clocks around 141.2 kilometers an hour.
When it happened, I was with my wife and the children. We were pushing them up to watch the race in the finish area, and we could hear this gasp of 50,000 people in the finish area, and you could tell something's not right. Crashes are a part of ski racing, but to see someone that you just that you know and you're a great friend, and you don't know for their well-being. You really don't know how bad it is. I mean, it could be as bad as it gets. There are real challenges in being a downhill racer to come back from that. Not only Scott, but everyone else watching the race is going to race that day.
See anybody pull back, you know, as a result of that in the next couple of days?
In the race itself, we had 2 athletes in the start gate behind Scott. And both of those athletes were affected in different ways. One of them definitely backed off and was just skiing down the hill. Skied defensive, didn't have a very good day. On the other said, you know what? I understand that happened, but I'm going to go out there and give it my all. And he was able to, when he went out of the gate, was confident in his abilities to charge and attack the mountain. And to be able to do that in that situation shows the mental toughness of some of these guys.
That's when you realize what downhill means to you. You know, I can see with my own eyes how dangerous it is. I've just watched my mate get taken off to hospital, and what does downhill mean to me right now? Do I want to do this? Do I want to take that risk? And if you're a real downhiller, the answer is yes.
It's this attitude that sets downhill racers apart from the rest of us. McCartney suffered horrific head injuries that day. In an effort to control the swelling on his brain, doctors had to put him in an induced coma. It was 9 months before he returned to the sport.
It was long. It was a long road, and you know, it took longer. Like, I kind of thought I was back, getting back into races at the beginning of the following season, and really, you know, it was the kind of thing where you think you're going for it again, and you think you're charging, and you look at your video, and you're kind of like passive in the back seat, kind of sucking, and you're just like, I'm not quite there. You know, you kind of compare yourself to other racers, you compare yourself to what you've been in the past, and you realize that you're a little bit tentative.
I have a great deal of admiration for McCartney's bravery and mental strength. How he can reconcile a crash like that and still have the desire to carry on amazes me. This goes against every natural instinct we have.
Extreme states of panic and fear are a battle between 2 different parts of the brain. So the skill that the skier needs to have is to be able to overcome these primitive parts of the brain, to suppress these automatic fear responses, primitive responses that deal with the sorts of threats that we experience in our evolutionary history. And that part of the brain battles against parts of the brain which are trying to gain control of our actions, trying to get us to make rational decisions. In effect, succumbing to panic causes us to lose control, and of course our brain never evolved to deal with the sorts of threat associated with losing control on a ski slope.
When the bad light's there, when you can't see from the sky to the snow, so you can't see the texture of the snow, and when it's getting bumpy and challenging and dangerous, and you know it's dangerous, so you've got to overcome that and want to go faster. And if you're tentative rather than positive, you're in much more danger to yourself.
You know, they can get hurt when you back off. I mean, you have to attack the hills and ski aggressively.
So when you back off, when the skier backs off and he feels that fear, he puts himself at greater danger?
Yeah, much for sure. Much
How is
more.
that?
You tense up. You don't work with the mountain. You don't ski the mountain. You lose the feeling of the snow. Usually the biggest risk in downhills is going at it and being defensive.
The best form of defense in downhill is to attack. Because when you're going from flats to steeps, you have to move forward, and it's really counterintuitive. You know, everything that's your natural instinct is screaming for you to sit back, to shy away from this thing. But what you have to do is you have to push forward, and you have to go with the terrain. You have to have that right mental attitude. And if you're negative, then you're actually in more risk of injuring yourself.
Being in the right state of mind is essential because there's no margin for error in this sport. The consequences of a mistake can cost you so much. And I'm not talking valuable seconds.
Skiing, for me, is not just a job. It was also a philosophy. I was really young, so with 3 years I was beginning skiing, a little child like this. And yeah, I grew up here in the mountain, in Lenzerheide, and that's normal that you're beginning skiing with 3 or 4 years. And 16 years old, I was on the Junior World Championships, and there I see I can go maybe up to a world champion to go for an Olympic medal. And this moment was for me really important because there was a big goal in my heart. I was thinking I want to go for Olympic gold medal.
Silvano Beltrametti, the rising star of the Swiss downhill team, off to a flying start here in Val d'Isère.
I was really fit, yeah. So it was my season. I was thinking, now you can get it. I can reach what I want as a little child.
Beltrametti at full speed at the top of the course, and it's paying off for him, 0.36.
I know everything on this day. And with thousand times to go down there, I make one time these mistakes.
You can see how relaxed he is. He's, oh no, he's gone! Oh, and that's a nasty crash.
I was maybe 10 meters from the net with 110 kilometers per hour. So that makes zack. And then, of course, I was thinking, now come the heat from the net and push me back to the slope, but it doesn't come.
And somewhere on the other side of there is Silvano Beltrametti, and fingers crossed that he is okay.
Traveling at 70 miles per hour, Beltrametti tore straight through the safety netting and collided with rocks on the other side.
And after this, a long, long time, you have to fight. I had my family in the front of my head, my friends, and I want to keep with them. I want to keep in this life, and I want not go away from this life. In Grenoble, after maybe 1.5 hours, the Swiss doctor told me, Silvano, you have broken the back like this. You will not have a chance to walk. That was really hard. So in this moment you are really down. And you don't know, you have nothing under control. For me, it was really clear that I have to think about my new life and what can you do in the wheelchair? What can you do in your new life? And this was like before as a child when my vision was to go for an Olympic game, to go for a world champion. Just in a different way. How I can reach this vision, how I can be in my life again happy. And it needs time, needs friends to do new things. And today, after 8 years, I can say I'm really happy in my life and I'm really back in my life.
You can see the mental resilience of a downhill racer still there in Beltrametti. This toughness has been key to his recovery. But it's not just a physical injury that can change a ski racer's life.
We can crash hard, and it's part of the thing, and for sure for me it's part of the history because of my history, because 3 weeks before I was Olympic champion.
In 2006, Antoine Denarius reached the pinnacle of his sport. He was Olympic downhill champion. But just 3 weeks after getting his gold medal, Denarius suffered a crash so bad that he could no longer face his fears.
Wow. You can see that actually in the fences I'm losing my helmet and I'm completely knocked down.
Yeah. Wow. So
now I'm laughing, but I was not really laughing the first time I saw it.
I'm sure. So what happened?
It was I got injured in my brain. It was like something happened in my brain, like the hard drive was broken, and I can't really remember the crash actually. I got my memory back maybe half an hour after, and then I got really scared because it was like it woke me up, and I thought about all my career, I thought about the gold medal and my family, I thought about everything, and then I got scared because I thought, actually it's really a crazy sport. But for 10, 12 years I was racing in World Cup. You're not really thinking about the risk.
But then, with that, then does it take a special person? Because I would always be thinking about the risk.
But that crash, it was like I woke up and I thought, there is a lot of risk and it's dangerous. And if you start thinking about the risk, that you start to think that after that jump you can crash and finish in the fences, you have to stop because you have no chance. My coach, they were saying, you should not watch it, it's really bad and you will get...
Denerius still had the physical ability to carry on racing. This injury was psychological. His capacity to cope with fear had gone. As a direct result of that crash, the Olympic champion quit downhill racing for good.
Et là, il ne reste qu'une chance à la Suisse, et donc Sandro Villetta, leader à l'issue de...
This is a sport where the spectators can enjoy the mistakes more than the successes. Perhaps the question I should be asking myself is not why do they do it, but why do we want to watch it?
People want to watch the spectacular, and the crashes are spectacular. But I think spectacular for me is people getting right up to the edge, getting so close that it's so risky, and then recovering.
Miller on the style hang, and he's on the net! That was astonishing.
I'm wondering if the fans, just appreciate the sport more because they know that it is a huge risk, and what these guys are doing is extremely dangerous, which obviously gives them some more, appreciation for it.
I agree, but I think that there's like a limit there. I think like they enjoy the action where like someone crashes and they go like, oh my God, that's amazing. But it's not that fun if they have to stop the race and they have to bring in the ambulance.
These ski racers, these athletes, they are very smart guys. Nobody pushes them out of the start gate, but our duty is to put together some kind of guarantee for them that they can rely on the safety or on the safest possible conditions we can deliver so that they can perform on the highest level.
You can't make downhill risk-free. I don't see that it's not possible. You can't make motorsport risk-free, it's not possible. And if it was risk-free, would people watch it as much? Probably not.
We'll always have danger. And a great example is Danny Albrecht last year. The crash he took on the same jump that Scott took 2 years ago. They lowered the jump. The jump was flat. It was even. It was perfectly built. And Danny Albrecht knocked himself out and put himself in a coma for several weeks.
So it's just part of it.
It's part of the sport.
Something that
you have to accept the risks. There's some risk.
Maybe people get the feeling that alpine ski racing is a safe sport and only something is missing. Alpine ski racing was never and will never be a safe sport. There is so much risk in it.
I think every racer who is on the start, he thinks, I have everything under control and I will not have a crash. But sometimes, like me, with my life, it happens that you make a little bad mistake in a bad time, and then yeah.
I started out thinking these men were fearless, but what I've come to realize is that they feel fear just like the rest of us.
There are moments where a downhill racer is afraid. He will never tell you that while he's a racer, but after his career he will tell you, yes, I was afraid.
I think back like it was yesterday, and I was standing up in the starting hut, and I thought, these guys are crazy, so I'm not going to do that. And actually I was shitting in my pants. I said, this is what I'm not doing.
It's the ability to channel and control that emotion that makes these guys so special.
Always when I approach that section where I crashed, it's like, you know, my heart is racing and I'm just, you kind of want to stop actually, but you're not going to stop, but it would be kind of nice just to pull over and like, okay, that's it. But you get really nervous, but if you stop, then that's it, because it's like barriers, you have to get over them.
They learn how to deal with it, with the focus, with motivation. They don't think about the risk. You know, the thrill outweighs the risk.
You've got to overcome the fear of it, and you've got to challenge yourself. You're going down 90 miles an hour plus, and you've got to want to go faster.
I've come to understand that a fundamental part of being a downhill racer is not being fearless, but understanding fear, learning how to cope with it and using it in a positive way. It's not pure physical ability that makes champions. It's having the right mental approach. These sportsmen take it to another level.
Through this fear, you create also some respect to the race course. And I say no downhill racer, even the best ones in the world, would be able to take the challenge of a World Cup downhill course if there would be no fear, no respect, which gives them the right behavior.
That's why I skied so fast, to overcome fear. It's over sooner.
Our Winter Olympic coverage starts on BBC Two on Saturday, so